Good afternoon and welcome to Carlam Cymru revision sessions. This session will focus on A-level Spanish and will be presented by Daniela Lardiri from Penglais School. The session will last around 45 minutes where the teacher will go through the relevant subject content. If you have any questions, please use the question and answer section and we will endeavour to answer your questions during the session. The session will be recorded with the recording and any relevant resources uploaded to the e-sgol website in the Carlam Cymru area.
Ok, thank you. Buenas tardes. Bienvenido a la segunda sesión de español del curso E2. Welcome back to the second session of Spanish A2. Today we're going to focus on understanding questions in the listening and reading paper and how to find the answers. Just a little reminder that there will be adaptation this year for the summer 2022. There is a little link here for the adaptation and in consideration to the Uni 4 or A2, so listening, reading and translation, will be 30% of the qualification, and the subject of cultural enrichment and celebrating differences, so theme 3, will not be assessed. So let's start. We're going today to revise question words. They're key to understanding questions and answers in listening and reading paper. And we're going to look as well how to answer the questions, the long questions in target language, so in Spanish, by understanding the questions themselves in the SS language, so in Spanish, and locating where the answers will be in the paper. So let's start with formular cuestiones, formulating questions. So we got some of the key questions. ¿Cuándo? ¿Por qué? ¿Qué es? ¿Cuál? ¿Cuáles? ¿Quiénes? ¿Cómo? ¿A qué hora? ¿Dónde? So some of those questions. So ¿cuándo? When? ¿Por qué? Why? ¿Qué es? What is? ¿Quién es? Who is? ¿Cuál? Which or cuáles? Which ones? ¿Cómo? How? ¿Dónde? Where? ¿A qué hora? At what time? So those questions, you should be familiar with those already, but if you aren't, take a minute to jot them down and make sure you know exactly what which question words mean. If you are not live now, but you're working from home, pause it, make a copy of those questions before you go to the next slide. And let's start to have a look at the cuestiones siguientes, at the following questions. ¿Cuál es la palabra adecuada a las cuestiones? Which is the adequate word for each question? So we got question 1, which question word would it fit here? La hija es triste. Question 2, ha pasado ayer en España. Número 3, era el papel de la gente durante la guerra. Sabemos que el proyecto ha sido un suceso. Hora es. Ha pasado con los clandestinos mexicanos. La gente ha conseguido hacer ayer. 8, descubrió la verdad. So try to use some of those questions to try to find the answers. So in this case, for instance, ¿por qué la hija era triste? Why was the daughter sad? I'm going to leave these answers up for a minute and try to fit as many questions as possible in the paper. Okay, let's have a look at the answers. How did it go? So I'm gonna put the answers out, so give yourselves a mark out of 8. How many did you go? So, ¿por qué la hija era triste? Why was the daughter sad? ¿Qué ha pasado en España ayer? What happened in Spain yesterday? ¿Cuál era el papel de la gente durante la guerra? Which was the role of people's role during the war? ¿Cómo sabemos que el proyecto ha sido un suceso? How do we know, sabemos, that the project has been a success? ¿Qué hora es? What time is it? ¿Qué ha pasado con los clandestinos mexicanos? What happened? ¿Qué ha pasado con los clandestinos mexicanos? With the illegal migrant from Mexico. ¿Qué es que la gente ha conseguido hacer ayer? What is the people managed to do yesterday? ¿Quién descubrió la verdad? Who discovered the truth? ¿Cuándo descubrió la verdad? When discovered the truth? ¿Cómo descubrió la verdad? How discovered the truth? So make sure that you're familiar with these words, because they're very, very useful in, well, not only in the reading and listening paper, but also in your speaking, which is probably coming up soon, to understand which kind of, where to go in your questions with your individual research project. So we're going to develop now 10 steps to look at the reading paper with some examples and how to succeed in the longer questions where Spanish answer is requested. So first of all, make sure that you read the questions instructions carefully. This is it's vital to read the instructions. Do you understand what you have to do, what is requested to do? Make sure that you read the text first, read it through, read it completely to get the general understanding and to make sure that you understand the topic. Having done that, look now at the questions. Look at the total number of marks for the questions. Look at the number of marks for each individual question. Sometimes more than one answer is required. So if you got 1 mark, it's one answer. If you got 2 marks, you're meant to give 2 details, 2 different details. Ensure that you understand each question. What type of answer is needed? Now, read through the text again, but this time you look at it thoroughly and work out where your answer is in the text. So that's what we're going to do today, for starters. And write the question letter next to it. So it also makes it like a little matching up exercise. You then read the text again to make sure that you located the answer for each question. And remember that sometimes you have to infer the meaning. So it's not going to be given to you. So some answers we request that you infer the meaning. You need to then answer the questions in Spanish and Espanol. And therefore make sure that your language is accurate, in particular with particular reference with the verbs. So to practice, we're going to look at some past papers examples. You can open these 2 links. There is the WJC website, and here you can find some past papers. There is an overview of past papers. So we're looking at an example of 2018. This would be your Unit 4. So you can download here the tape script as well as the written, listening, reading and translation, and you will need as well the resource that goes along with it. So the folder that has got the text in it. So you can take a minute to download these resources now. Click on the links, and you can download the paper of 2018 Unit 4. So the reading, listening and translation. Okay. So let's start looking at the question 6 of your paper. So this would be, so if you downloaded the paper, I go from the top. So you got A2, Unit 4, listening, reading and translation, and we go into question 6. So for 20 marks. Okay, so I would encourage to question 4, question 5, and question 6. Lee el texto La persecución de la lengua catalana y luego contesta las preguntas siguientes en español. If you look at the folder, the relevant folder, you'll be looking at the text. Here it is. For use with section B, question 6, la persecución de la lengua catalana. Okay, so make sure that you first read the text one time to get a general meaning. I'm gonna read through this for you. Desde sus inicios, la dictadura promovió la supresión de la democracia y de las libertades tanto individuales como colectivas. En Cataluña, el régimen franquista abolió la Generalidad, el Parlamento y el Estatuto de Autonomía. Asimismo, prohibió el catalán y cualquier otra expresión de los símbolos nacionales catalanes. La dictadura franquista se fomentaba en un nacionalismo español exagerado de origen castellano. En este sentido, quería borrar cualquier otro tipo de manifestación cultural y lingüística que no fuera la oficial. Esta uniformización encajaba en su visión política de la unidad de España. Así, pues, el gobierno franquista impuso una españolización en todos los ámbitos de la vida oficial y cotidiana, lo que implicó una sistemática persecución contra la lengua catalana con la intención de hacerla desaparecer. Un ejemplo de ello es la prohibición de representar obras teatrales en catalán o bien la obligación de traducir en castellano los nombres de todos los establecimientos industriales y comerciales. En abril de 1943, Josep de Déu Sensada, propietario del bar Els Tranquils, escribió al alcalde de Manresa pidiendo permiso para guardar el nombre de su negocio y solicitando poder instalar un letrero con la inscripción Els Tranquils. La petición fue rechazada. En el año 1940, la circular de Gobierno Civil de Barcelona sobre el uso del idioma nacional en todos los servicios públicos proclamó el español como única lengua válida para la vida pública y el despido de todos aquellos funcionarios que no utilizaran exclusivamente el castellano. La resolución ordenó que todos los funcionarios del Ayuntamiento de Manresa debieran firmar que habían entendido este documento, lo que les obligaba a atender al público siempre en castellano. De lo contrario, serían inmediatamente despedidos. En el documento se puede ver las firmas de todos los funcionarios del Ayuntamiento de Manresa que fueron obligados a firmarlo. Algunos funcionarios del Cuerpo de Guardias de Paseo firmaron con la huella dactilar por no saber escribir. So we're going now, we read through it. Did you get what was the text about? So it's worthwhile to take this first step, a minute or two to read through it. Just read the general thing, even if you don't understand the whole task, but to get familiar with the general topic, the general idea. So the question says, lee el texto La persecución de la lengua catalana y luego contesta las preguntas siguientes. So the title gives us the theme of the test. So the persecution of the Catalan language, la persecución de la lengua catalana. And this is important to look at because it helps us to understand and remember what is the type of vocabulary that we're looking for. Sometimes we can find as well that it says, puedes utilizar palabras tomadas del texto, pero no debes copiar frases palabra por palabra. No se requieren frases completas en toda la respuesta. Si procede, puedes utilizar palabras sueltas. So to answer in Spanish, you can use some answers from the text. Puedes utilizar palabra del texto. Pero no debes copiar frases palabra por palabra. However, you should not copy complete sentences as they are. So you make sure that there is some manipulation of the language. You don't need, no se requieren, frases completas, complete sentences in all the answers. And if it's possible, si procede, if it fits, you can use single words, so one word only. So we look now at the questions for the text. Says the questions, the first one is, ¿cuándo empezó la supresión de la democracia española? So ¿cuándo is the key word? Oh, apologies. ¿Cuándo is the key word for us? Do you remember what the question means? So if you remember, it's when. So when we say what type of information do you need for each one? So this could be a date, or it could be a particular period in time, could be a process. So but when empezó, started, la supresión de la democracia en España, the suppression of democracy in Spain. Look again, so you got 20 marks for the whole paper, so this is only for the whole question 6, there's only a partial part of it, but if you downloaded the paper in the WJC website, you can get access to the full paper. So next to it, you got a total number of marks, 20, and for each sentence you got 1 mark, 2 marks. So you need to write dos detalles, 2 details. In which tense is the question? That's important because you might want to use the same tense in your answers. So you want to use that again, la supresión de la democracia en España empezó when, and I will look at it. Hubo más supresión de las libertades personales que comunales. Hubo, was there more suppression of the personal freedom rather than the communal one? Más que, more than. So this is a comparison. ¿Qué hizo? What? ¿Qué hizo la dictadura? What did the dictator para limitar el poder político de Cataluña? To limit the political power of Cataluña. ¿Qué frase en el texto refleja el objetivo nacionalista del franquismo? Which sentence in the text reflects the nationalist objective of the franquismo? Okay, so here we got a sentence in the present tense, past tense, okay, but it's worthwhile to figure which tense sequences that will help with formulating your answer in the target language. So we got some other questions. For each one, take a minute to figure it out. What type of information do you need for each one? Do you need more than one answer? In which tense is the question? Question E. ¿Cuál fue el propósito del régimen franquista con relación al catalán? What was the meaning or the purpose of the Franquista regime in relationship with the Catalan language? Según el texto, so that's according to the text, según el texto, escribe dos ejemplos de lo que se prohibió bajo la dictadura de Franco. According to the text, write down 2 examples on what was forbidden under Franco dictature. Again, take a few minutes to figure out what type of information do you need for each one. Do you need more than one answer? In which text is the question? If you need a little bit more time, just simply pause the video and you can come back to this using the recording. Use your question answers, again, your question formulations, your question words to understand what type of information is required. So here we looked at how. How do we know that some workers were illiterate? In your opinion, why did the government want to suppress the Catalan language? So that's a reason that is given us. Yeah. How do we know? How were punished? How those that didn't obey the rule were punished? What had to do the public employers of Manresa? How the 1940 circular affected the working life of the public workers? So what we want to do now is try to find the answers in the text. So we're starting with this first one. ¿Cuándo empezó la supresión de la democracia en España? The first thing that I would like you to do is just simply highlight the area in which can you find the answer. cuando empezó la supresión de la democracia en España? Take a minute to locate the answer in the text. And here it is. Desde sus inicios, la dictadura promovió la supresión de la democracia y de las libertades. We're not given an actual date, but we are inferring that the suppression of democracy in Spain empezó, started, desde sus inicios, so from the start of the dictature. So try to do the same with question B. Can you highlight and put the letter next to the actual area? Hubo más supresión de las libertades personales que comunales. Where do you find the answer? And here's the answer. Dice, desde sus inicios la dictadura promovió la supresión de la democracia, de las libertades, tanto individuales como colectivas. Tanto como. As much as the individual ones as the collective ones. I'm going to carry on with the text. So this time, look at the questions. The first one, question C, try to locate it in the text. ¿Qué hizo la dictadura para limitar el poder político de Cataluña? Question D, ¿qué frase en el texto refleja el objetivo nacionalista del franquismo? Question E, ¿cuál fue el propósito del régimen franquista con relación al catalán? Can you match the questions with sentences or portion of the text? Gonna look at question C. En Cataluña, el régimen franquista abolió la Generalidad, el Parlamento y el Estatuto de Autonomía. We're now to locate question D. ¿Qué frase en el texto refleja el objetivo nacionalista del franquismo? Got the area in here. Esta uniformización encajaba en su visión política de la unidad de España. Finally, ¿cuál fue el propósito del régimen franquista con relación al catalán? And we got the answers here. Así pues, el gobierno franquista impuso una españolización en todos los ámbitos de la vida oficial y cotidiana, lo que implicó una sistemática persecución contra la lengua catalana con la intención de hacerla desaparecer. La intención es a synonym for el propósito. I'm going to carry on and mapping the rest of the papers. So question F. Según el texto, escribe dos ejemplos de lo que se prohibió bajo la dictadura de Franco. Question G. ¿Qué quería ser el propietario del café Els Tranquils? Question H. ¿Qué afirmó la circular de 1940 con relación al español? Take a couple of minutes to highlight in the text where can you locate the answer? Where is the answer? If you need 2 more time, simply pause the video and you can watch the recording later. So here we got question F. Un ejemplo de ello es la prohibición de representar obras teatrales en catalán o bien la obligación de traducir en castellano los nombres de todos los establecimientos industriales y comerciales. Question G, que quería ser el propietario del café El Tranquil. And de Deu Sensada, propietario del bar El Tranquil, escribió al alcalde de Manresa pidiendo permiso para guardar el nombre de su negocio y solicitando poder instalar un letrero con la inscripción Els Tranquils. And question H, que afirmó la circular de 1940 con relación al español. En el año 1940, la circular del Gobierno Civil de Barcelona proclamó el español como única lengua válida para la vida pública y el despido de todos aquellos funcionarios que no utilizaran exclusivamente el castellano. We got 2 more questions in here. ¿Cómo afectó la circular de 1940 la vida laboral de los empleados públicos? ¿Qué tuvieron que hacer los empleados públicos de Manresa? So take a minute to locate question I and J in the text. How the circular of 1940 affected the working life of the public employers. La circular proclamó el español como única lengua válida para la vida pública y el despido de todos aquellos funcionarios que no utilizaran exclusivamente el castellano. And did you manage to locate the answer for question J? Where is it going to be? ¿Qué tuvieron que hacer los empleados públicos de Manresa? What did the public workers of Manresa had to do? Todos los funcionarios del Ayuntamiento de Manresa debieran firmar que habían entendido este documento, lo que les obligaba a entender al público siempre en castellano. So At this point, you've located the questions, you've highlighted them in the text, in your resources. Now you want to start to formulate the answers with, you don't need to answer in full sentences, but you need to be accurate and you need to show some manipulation of the language. So the first one, cuando empezó la supresión de la democracia en España, and we highlighted that it was desde sus inicios, since the start, la dictadura promovió la supresión de la democracia y de las libertades. The dictature promoted the suppression of democracy and freedoms. So I'm just going to give you the answer for this one to show some model. So we've got that the answer is desde el principio de la dictadura, since the start of the dictatorship. Desde el principio, so some manipulation of what? De la dictadura. You don't need to write in full sentence, but the answer need to make sense. And that's the answer to the question, when? So make sure that you read the question. Okay. Have a go at the second one. You've had already written here. So, hubo más supresión de las libertades personales que comunales. Was there more suppression of the personal freedom than the communal freedom? So if you are unsure what this means, rephrase it. What is the key message the question is answering? It's asking you, where the personal freedom more in damage, more problematic than the communal ones? And what is the answers? So the dictature promoted the suppression of democracy and freedom as much on the individual side than the collective side. So one answer could be, hubo supresión de las dos libertades. So there was a suppression of both types of freedom. You could have said as well, no hubo tanta supresión de la libertad individual como de la libertad colectiva, for instance. So just as long as you show a little manipulation of the language and your language is accurate. Question C. ¿Qué hizo la dictadura para limitar el poder político de Cataluña? So you need now to write true details. Have a go. Try to answer now that you spotted it. What did the dictature do to limit the political power of Catalonia? Abolió la Generalidad y el Parlamento. So, dos detalles, two details. ¿Qué frase en el texto refleja el objetivo nacionalista del franquismo? Which sentence in the text reflects the nationalist objectives of the franquismo? So look where your question, look at your highlighting. So question D is here. And the answer is, which sentence it is Unidad de España. Finally, ¿cuál fue el propósito del régimen franquista con relación al catalán? What was the main objective that the Franco regime wanted to reach in relationship with the Catalan? Remember that we spotted a synonym, didn't we? El propósito y la intención. Formulate your answer. Quiso destruir la lengua, hacerla desaparecer. So, el régimen franquista quería, wanted, o quiso, again, wanted, destruir, destroy la lengua catalana. Or, so you're inferring, you could say destruir instead of hacerla desaparecer, to manipulate it. Another few questions, so we can have a go. So I will go at question F, question G, question 8. Can you formulate an answer in Spanish that conveys the main meaning and answers to the questions of question F? Según el texto, escribe 2 ejemplos de lo que se prohibió bajo la dictadura de Franco. According to the text, write 2 examples of what was prohibited under Franco dictature. And one simple answer could be: se prohibió representar obras de teatro en catalán, o los establecimientos industriales y comerciales tuvieron de traducir sus nombres al castellano y al español. There is a few more questions where you can have a go at, and in your own time marking your answers.